If you're looking for the pulse of Tampa Bay sports, Beckles and Recher is the #1 source. The new dog, raising up the bar. Intelligent sports talk in your own backyard. Ain't no competition, ask the fans why. Beckles and Recher got it by a landslide. Don't fret, microphone check, stand by. Yo, Fox, where they at? Where my two favorite guys?
Here they go,
Here they go,
here they go,
here they go,
here they go, here they go,
here they go,
here they go,
here they go,
here they go,
here they go,
here they go, here they go.
here they go.
All right, guys and gals, welcome back to the Beckles and Recher podcast. We're hanging out here at the Dignitary Cafe.
We are.
Chilling the mostest. For those of you who don't know anything about that title song, that was TRC with Shardcore and Eliana. Shardcore sent me some information. He had a little breakthrough as far as his career goes, and he got on a Kevin Hart soundtrack or something, like some
Really?
kind of a Kevin Hart movie or something.
Wow.
So I guess that's a
Shout
big
out to
deal.
Shad.
So shout out to Shardcore, who has he has two different groups, TRC and KRK as well.
KRK?
Yeah.
He's a big fan of anagrams.
Yes, he loves letters in
He
general.
loves letters.
Yes, yes. So what's good with you, man?
You know, same shit, different day. We're going to be off the next couple of weeks because I'll be on vacation, traveling.
You do a lot of
coaching.
vacation then? No.
Well, it's not vacation. It's more
No?
traveling. It's traveling more than vacation. But
Okay.
leave for Alabama, Hoover, Alabama on Friday
Beautiful
for a
this time of year.
big tournament, big baseball tournament.
Hoover?
Hoover, Alabama.
It don't even sound like there's any black people there.
Hoover. We shall see.
No, we won't, because there won't
Listen,
be.
we went to South Carolina a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be like that. It can't be,
Okay.
bro. We went back in time.
Okay.
Back in time.
I've been to Tennessee, and I was like,
No, the
Whoa.
place we were at in South
Yeah.
Carolina, I didn't see anybody half of your shit.
no, bro. Okay, this
I
is...
didn't see whites with tans.
Yeah, okay. This is what a lot of people in
light-skinned
America
brothers.
don't understand, okay? People that live in big cities. When you get to the middle, and some on the outskirts too, there's nothing brown there no more.
No, I know.
Like
This
nothing.
is where I'm telling you, I was
Like,
there. I was there.
No, but there's
They
lots.
didn't like me.
There's lots of areas like that in America.
No, I'm not
a
saying,
lot.
I'm definitely not saying it's the only one.
There's lots.
There's tons.
Drive through Iowa, Indiana.
It's different though. South,
It's America.
but South. Is
Okay,
different.
but
They don't think they
In the-
lost the war.
nah, there's a lot in the Midwest. There's just never been black people there. Not even passing through. They don't even pass. There's no
Don't
reason
even
to
pass through.
They don't. There's no reason to pass through Riceville, Iowa.
Riceville,
Yeah,
Iowa.
I think they still have my picture up there as the only black person ever.
Riceville.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man. Also unbelievable, the terrible news we got today that Tristan Wirfs is going to be out for likely the first 4 games. Rick Star from the Tampa Bay Times, the first one all over that one. We give credit to Rick where credit was due. A knee injury and being out at camp a couple of weeks ago, Beck, he had a big old brace on his right knee.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to see that going into camp. And now, which they were hoping it was just going to be an arthroscopic, get in there, nice little scope yesterday. They go in, they find out that it's a lot worse. And people are unhappy today. And I guess what's your initial reaction when you hear that news that Tristan is going to be out? Because you and I spoke about this on Monday on my show. Of like, he is the best player on this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team.
I mean, he's a top 10 player in the whole NFL. I believe.
Oh, and the whole NFL.
In the whole NFL, absolutely. You can't give me 10 players better than him.
Well, then.
I mean, it could call it bold, but then we could just go look at PFF, and I guarantee his grades there's not 10 better. When I heard the news, the first thing I was like, did he hurt himself? And this is a wear and tear thing. Why is it happening now? But this happened to me. This happened to me in an off season. I tore my meniscus running on a track. And then when they went in there to take care of it, they found out that I had another ailment, I guess. And they had to go in there and drill a hole in my knee, and I was on crutches for 6 weeks. So your body's funny, man. And when you play football players are really built to get through things.
Right.
But it gets to a point where there's just no, drudging through it. And obviously he hit a point where he couldn't do it anymore. And let's hope it's just an arthroscopic thing. But when I hear them talking about him maybe missing a couple of games, and we're in July, that's a serious, that's not a meniscus tear. So, I mean, you got to start worrying about, Tristan Wirfs and his future, because once you start getting cut on, you're not the same anymore. You got to kind of figure it out, because you're never going to be the same. He's not going to be as quick. That's just the way it goes. And as I got older, I got less quick, and I got wiser. But it comes.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
You know
how
what
it
I'm saying?
seems like
It's
as
tough.
your physical regresses,
Yeah.
your mental progresses, and the best players of the best are able to keep that mentality and the physicality
Yep.
at the highest level for the longest.
Sure, and and the great ones. When I'm talking about, like, Derek Brooks is a great example. Derek started off ahead of everybody else, and then he went up. Okay, like I started off in the slums. Okay, he started off in the penthouse and started like he's at the first time he got on the field, he was already just as good as everybody else. So, like Sapp couldn't say that, Lynch can't say that, Barber can't say that. I think Derek is that guy, but everybody matures in different ways, and everybody's bodies treat them in different ways too. Because football's funny, man. Because it goes, and then it stops, and there's not really a lot of, there's not a lot of warnings for what's stopping. Okay, because you don't know. Like I didn't know it was gonna be my head, my knee, my ankle, my foot, my hands, my wrists, my shoulder. It could be anything. Could be the last thing that you do, the last thing you hurt, because I hurt all of those throughout the years.
So I guess a lot of fans are wondering today, why get the surgery right now? Because, and I think it's a fair question, because we were out there at training camp and he had a big old brace on his knee. If you knew that he was going to get arthroscopic surgery,
but we don't know how it progressed, though. That's the thing.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
But my point is,
Yeah.
it wasn't like he was healthy and then he got unhealthy.
Sure.
You already knew that he was compromised and that he was wearing a brace. So why, first off, why have him out there in the first place? And why wait so long? That was a month ago, Beck.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is like, so what you're saying is they probably thought that he could muscle through that, for lack of a better term, clean it up, and then he'd be 100% healthy. Like if that's the case, right? And I'm not saying that it's obviously not malicious, and I'm not going so far to say that it's negligent, but I also think like they got this wrong if that's what they think. Because if you think, like, think about it. Chris Godwin wasn't out there, right?
Okay.
Benjamin Morrison wasn't out there. If this guy is as important as he is, and he is, I mean, he's the best player on the team, no doubt. If he's not 100%, why is he wearing a knee brace if you ended up having surgery later on? I just don't. You're not gaining anything, and he wasn't even out there the entire time. Like he was doing work off to the side. Do you think? And it's hard to speculate, but do you think like, all right, he's tough enough, he's able to muscle through this, and then that scope will be able to clean everything up, and then he'll be fine after the fact? Because if that's the case, then they were wrong.
Well, the wrong part, I don't know if anybody can be wrong when it comes to your body, okay? Because your body, nobody knows. Nobody has any idea the way their body's going to heal up. And I don't know if I can answer any of the questions unless I can sit down in front of Tristan, his doctor, his trainer, because I can say, was this a problem in January? Is this something that's new? Is this something that you thought you were going to work through? You know, there's so many different questions where if I don't have the answers to it, it's hard for me to say that they were wrong, because there's times where somebody says in January, we're going to cut your shoulder open. Like, to cut your shoulder open is a big deal. So some people like I had a partial tear in my rotator cuff when I was done playing. And the doctor said, well, you can get it cut, but it may heal itself. So I'm not playing football, so I'm going to say I'm not going to try to cut my shoulders open, because that's the worst surgery I ever had. Now, in the meantime, I was still living, doing stuff, and I tore it again. Then it got to a point where I had to lift my hand up. If I wanted to grab that cup,
rough.
I had to lift my hand up to get it. So I didn't have a choice.
So I guess that's my question.
The answer is he's getting a surgery because he doesn't have a choice.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is they, based on what you just said, it seems like they thought that it could probably heal on its own, and that just
if it's been going on for a long time.
Well, I mean, it had to have been.
Well, once again, it could
the,
just start hurting him in May.
But he had the injury
possible.
last year and he missed time. That's what I'm saying. It's not like it popped up out of nowhere.
It can, though. That can happen. Happen.
But there's an example. Like, it's not like there's no past injury.
Sure.
He missed time last year with injury on that same knee. He comes into training camp and he's wearing a brace.
Sure.
So there is a precedent of him. It's not like all of a sudden something happened and he tweaked it and then it was like, wow, we didn't see this coming. There was no prior example of any type of injury. There was. And it just seems like they probably thought it was going to heal on its own, or just like, hey, by just cleaning it out and just letting his body recuperate, a kid in his mid to late 20s, but it just didn't work out that way.
Well, the word chronic and the word chronic can be used a lot in football.
Great album.
I had a great album. I had a chronic ankles, okay? I had more high ankle sprains than anybody that I remember before or after me. So the thing is, your ankles are just bad, okay? And it gets to a point where his knees are never going to be good anymore. So my ankles are bad. So if we had a surgery in July, that means I couldn't push through something.
Right.
Okay? Because if they weren't good in January, they weren't good in October, they weren't good in August, they're just bad. So he was just like, I'm going to try to get through this. And he got the camp and he's like, it's not working. So we could have done this. We could have done this maybe in, in February, but he wasn't putting his body through all these things. Sometimes mentally you think you could do things, you get to a point where like, maybe Tristan was wrong. Because your doctor and your trainer could only ask you questions. And I love when people say, well, that doctor won't put him on the field hurt. If you tell a doctor I'm ready to go, you're ready to go. Right. Even if a doctor says it's going to be 5 months. I've had a doctor say to me, it's going to be at least 4 weeks before I let you on the football field. I practiced Wednesday for 2 plays. I practiced Thursday for 2 plays. They suited me up, and I played half the game. Okay, they don't care. They're not going to stop you. Their job is not to stop you. So I think there's so many questions need to be asked. And I don't know if it's wrong, though, okay, because the human body is just, it's so darn unpredictable, man.
So what does this mean for the Buccaneers now? How does it
means
change?
They're not as good.
It changes your opinion of the Buccaneers going into this
100%.
Yeah, it has to. It has to.
Okay, if you take Michael Jordan, and unfortunately for the line, he's Michael Jordan. If you take Michael Jordan out of any team he was ever on, the aesthetics of that team changes. Because one thing that I do know, I don't give a rat's ass who's on the right end. You don't have to worry about him.
Right.
Regardless who it is, I don't care. It could be the best, it could be Watt, it could be, doesn't matter. And I've never seen Tristan get ate up. Okay? I think in the first year I saw my boy from Chicago, but he didn't eat him up. No, he got like a sack and a half.
He won the rep.
Okay, he won a couple battles. But Tristan has never been eaten up, brother. So if you got a guy that's solid there, boy, you can do so many things with the other 4 guys and compensate for maybe a liability here and there. But now all of a sudden that left tackle is going to become a liability, and it softens everybody up. If you have 1 liability, you can do it in the NFL. If you have 2, but if you have 3 sometimes, then it could be long. So him not being there it's a huge loss for I don't know where to measure it.
Can you speak to the people that say, I'll just throw Luke Gedeke over there for a couple weeks before Tristan comes back?
Listen, doesn't work that way. Okay, listen. The fact that Luke Gedeke went from left guard to right tackle is amazing. I actually was like, I don't think it's going to happen. Because usually if you can't play guard, and me and Tony Mayberry were talking about this, and he looked at me and goes, tackle's not easier than guard, it's just different. He goes, because Tony's son played both guard and tackle. Guard is way more athletic position. Tackle is more of a God-given position, okay? So they're 2 totally different things. But Luke Gedeke is a really good right tackle. And if Tristan Wirfs maybe wasn't over there getting all the accolades, maybe Luke Gedeke would get more praise. But I watch him, and I rarely hear his name. And but to switch sides like that in the NFL, I know Tristan Wirfs did it, but no way.
Again, he's a rare bird.
Yeah, no. I don't think anybody else is. Well, no, that's not true. Larry Allen used to do it, I believe. I think Larry Allen played every position on the offensive line, which is unheard of. Unheard of.
So as far as belief in the Buccaneers, they're obviously not going to be as good in the first couple of weeks.
Nope.
Does it change your opinion overall on the entire season?
No. I mean, I looked at the beginning of their schedule that they had the Jets and the Falcons maybe.
Falcons,
and the Texans,
Jets,
and
Eagles.
Listen, and I don't really care who's in front of you. I think Todd Bowles always has his teams ready to play. Regardless, there was a time where we were without Mike Evans, and it didn't seem like we missed a beat. We would have been better with him.
Right.
Same with Godwin. We've been minus so many key players, and I always figured out ways around it. And to me, that might be the number 1 key to being a great coach, being able to deal with, adversity in general. It's easy to cry, oh, woe is me, my left tackle's out. They don't have time for that.
Next man up mentality,
That's
right?
real, but that's a real mentality. And whoever was behind Tristan Wirfs, And, there's plenty of time now to go out and get an old veteran, but veteran left tackles don't really exist.
No.
Not on the street.
Yeah, Charlie Heck is going to be the backup, and hopefully we're not saying what the heck early on in the season.
We will be.
Yeah.
We will be because he's not Tristan Wirfs.
So what do you do So what do you do as an offensive lineman now?
Run the football.
Just run the football?
Well,
to the right side, left side?
You have to run the football both sides, okay? There's no more with Tristan Wirfs in there, it makes everybody better. With Tristan out of there, running the football is going to be essential. You don't want to be throwing the ball 40 times with a makeshift left offensive line and your quarterback's blind side having a question mark over there. Defensive coordinators know what they're doing. They're going to attack. You're going to attack, and if Baker goes down, we in big trouble.
So Bucky Irving, early on in the season, Rashad White, Sean Tucker, that group really needs to be ready early on with Tristan being out.
We have 3 legitimate running backs. And listen, running backs are great, and they're durable to me in the NFL. You're great. The skill level to me, I think they're all close, okay? Running backs don't get me excited. Offensive lines get me excited, man. And this Bucs offensive line, sometimes, like you see Philadelphia, like you see Saquon's run. I go, you mean the one he wasn't touched till 30 yards down the field?
Right.
So, boy, if you have a great offensive line, it doesn't matter who's back there. Now, that being said, in the open field, there's a big difference between Bucky Irvin and Rashad and Eric Rhett and all those guys like that. Some guys are electric in the open field, and he's definitely one of them. He still has a lot of work to do in between the tackle, instinctively, but that's because he's a young football player, that's all.
Yeah, he's only going to get better, you would think.
Yep.
And it's I still, even though the offensive line, when you look at the impact of Tristan not being there, there's still a lot of pieces. Still a lot of pieces there.
A lot of pieces, absolutely. Before Tristan got hurt, I was like, that's a top 5 offensive line in the NFL. I don't think I've ever said that in the history of the Bucs.
Right.
Ever. That's a big deal. That's a good place to start.
No doubt about it. Obviously, one of the big things here in the football world is the Netflix documentary, Quarterback, one from a couple of years ago, followed Marcus Mariota, Patrick Mahomes, and Kirk Cousins. This one, Cousins, Jared Goff, and also Joe Burrow. We watched some of it before the show today with Kirk Cousins showing a guy like Todd Bowles a lot of love, and also saw how much goes into the preparation on the field before the play is snapped, and so many different things that these quarterbacks have to focus on. I mean, it's, to me, one of the best documentaries that Netflix has ever done, and it really gives you appreciation on how hard the position is. And like you told me before, like anybody that says the quarterback is dumb, it's just watching that clip that we watched for 3 minutes and to see, and it's wild because they all gave a shit ton of information, and they all gave a bunch of different things.
Correct.
And I'm just like, holy smokes, man. 3 guys, top of their game, all with all of these things they have to do. And, oh, yeah, there's a play clock that's running down. I'm sure it feels like the sands of time slipping through your fingers. But, I mean, it really takes a special type of athlete and also a guy with the mental capacity to be able to play that position.
I've said this before in a room full of CEOs, and they looked at me crazy. I go, you think about it for a minute. And I say, playing quarterback in the NFL is the hardest thing to do on the planet. They're like, what about if you're CEO of Apple? I go, well, if you have a bad day, what happens? Nobody sees it. Nobody sees it. They say, oh, Apple stock is down $5 billion. They're not pointing your name out. It's just the stock, okay?
Yeah.
If you're a quarterback, first and foremost, you got to be out there leading 10 alphas. That's hard to begin with, okay? That's a different mentality. As a rookie, some of these guys out there, the stuff that's thrown at them that they have to ingest. I had to ingest an offensive line playbook, and I would say it's probably about 1/30th of what quarterback
1/30th?
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, they got to know what we're doing, too.
Yeah, no.
They got to know what the receivers are doing. They got to know what the tight ends are doing. They got to know what the running backs are doing. If the running backs are lined up wrong, they got to know if the wide receivers just outside the hash or inside the hash. They got to know. They got to know everything. Okay. They got to know. Like I've told you the story before when John Gruden asked me what coverage it was, and I go like, "What difference does it make?" They have to know everything. They got to know the front. It makes a difference if it's an under front, over front, bare front. They have to know. We have to know a little bit. If you ask me where does receiver line up, what do I care? And what do I care what coverage it is? And I found out later on it can help you on the football field, but quarterbacks have to know a little bit of everything. And if you think it's even possible to get there and not be uber intelligent, it ain't happening. To me, the respect that I give to quarterbacks and the game of football in itself, and now I realize as I get older that there is chess matches happening everywhere on the football field. Like there's not, in all due respect to a lot of other sports, there's not chess matches happening everywhere, okay? There's a football over here, but there's chess matches happening way over here, okay? And every football play counts because they're gonna come back to it, and it's like, when you did this, I did this. Now when I do this, you do this. Psych, you see what I'm saying? Yep. There's so many different equations that happen during a football game. Guy lines up, say, you ever see the one play where they were talking, it was Belichick talking about Ed Reed duping Peyton Manning?
He acted like he didn't know what he was going to do.
He goes, I watched hundreds of films, and he never did that. And he goes, I knew that he also watched hundreds of films, and I never turned back. Yep. And I'm like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
But he waited
up for that moment, too. And he opened his hips, and he just took those 2 steps, and he broke back.
Yep.
And as soon as Peyton threw the ball, he knew he was in. I think, don't throw that. Boy, I tell you what, people don't realize that's happening.
That's high level.
That's the highest.
I remember there was another one. It was from 90. It was sometime in the 90s, and it was Greg Maddux and Eduardo Perez, and they were facing Jeff Bagwell of the Astros. And it was like a 7-0 game in like the 7th inning. He's out there pitching, and he like shakes him off. He's like, I'm not throwing a changeup. I'm not throwing a curveball. He's like, I'm throwing a fastball middle in or a fastball outside. And he gave up a home run. They're like, why'd you do that? He goes, because we're going to face them in the playoffs.
Yep.
And I'm not going to throw in that pitch. 3 pitches.
Isn't that crazy?
It was a slider every time.
Yep.
The fastball never came. Struck him out in the playoffs.
Yep.
And that was like that same type of play.
Yep.
But think about that. We're talking about Ed Reed, Peyton Manning, and Greg Maddux.
Yep.
3 of the smartest athletes of our generation.
Correct.
It's insane. Speaking of not smart, there's this guy, Kevin Keatsman, in Kansas City. He has a show called Kevin Keatsman Has Issues. And here's what he had to say. I can't wait to get your opinion on this. Vacation photos are popping up of Patrick Mahomes, and he's fat. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to tell you the truth. That's why you hit the play button. He's an embarrassment. You're a $500 million quarterback. You've made all these comments in the offseason that we're going to do our talking on the field, and we got our butts kicked in the Super Bowl, and we're coming back with a vengeance. Dude, you're fat. Your belly would be fat at my pool, hanging out with us 60-year-olds. My skin is as flabby as yours. I get it. Stop the fast food. Do a sit-up, something. I don't understand it. He's not a kid anymore. You can't just run through your NFL career eating Taco Bell all the time and door dashing fried chicken, which he loves from that one place over in Leawood where he gets it all the time.
What's his guy's name?
Keatsman. Mr. Kevin Keatsman.
I don't know who he is.
Kevin Keatsman. He's got issues. That's the name of his thing.
Well, I'm going to say this.
Kevin Keatsman.
He's a hater. Period. Okay, there's so much hate in there.
There's a lot of hate.
If the man likes fried chicken, let the man get some fried chicken. He's worth $500 million almost. Let the man get some fried chicken. Listen, okay. I promise you, if you see a picture of Brad Johnson, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino in the offseason with their shirts off, you probably wouldn't be impressed. I'll take a fat Patrick Mahomes over probably every other quarterback other than Josh Allen right now. Who else are you going to take? So, you ever seen a picture of Patrick Mahomes cut? Ever? He's always dumpy.
Who cares?
That's what I'm saying, though. He's always been dumpy. He's a born. You know what he reminds me of a little bit? Luka.
Yeah.
They don't care.
No. Jokic.
When it comes down to it, you don't want him to shoot.
Trout.
You don't want Patty to make the throw.
Mike Trout. See, ripped.
Come on, man. Come on, dog. That's hate, bro. That's hate. He's a hater.
Hating ass bitch. Those radio guys, man.
Yeah,
radio
freaking radio guys.
I know. But like people like that, like you haven't been in the locker room. Like you don't see shit like that if you've never been in the locker room.
Correct.
Like you don't have the balls to say that because then people would call you out. Like that's such a chicken shit freaking opinion because you wouldn't do that if you were interviewing that guy face to face because you would get pressed and then you would probably bitch out and you wouldn't be as tough as you are behind a microphone.
Nobody thinks he's tough though.
No,
nobody.
He does.
His boys don't even think he's tough. You're talking about a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. You're talking to him about athletics. Why? You wield the pen.
You know what I was thinking about when this whole thing came down? How come the majority of the guys that we see that are like ripped, they're not great?
They're not.
Like the more off, it's almost like, and we get that in baseball a lot. It's like, he's got a great arm. You know what you're not saying? He's a great pitcher.
Correct.
Oh, wow. We've talked about this for JTS for a long time. If people keep saying he looks like a great athlete, you know what they're not saying? He's a great player.
What they say about Mike Lennon?
Got a great arm.
He's tall.
He's tall.
He's 6'7". They always say 6'7". I don't give a rat's.
If anybody,
give me Doug Flutie, bro.
Listen, if they're saying that after the draft, that's a problem. Because in the draft, you try to look at certain things and you get it. You know, that's when you really break it down. It's more about the underwear football, right? He's got a great arm. He's got, this. He's got that. But once you start playing and people say, well, he's a hell of an athlete, that's not great. That's not great. I've seen guys.
But you've seen Derek Brooks, right? Does he look the part?
I don't know.
Does Warren Sapp look the part?
Not it.
Does John Lynch look the part?
Line those guys up and put JTS on the end.
That's what I'm saying,
makes them look like shit.
John Lynch doesn't look the part, really.
No.
Does Rondé Barber look the part? You're born football players, dog. You're born with that. All that.
I think
don't
whatever
care
sport
what much
you
muscle
play,
you got.
like you don't look at Nikita Kucherov and like, wow, he's fantastic. You don't see that kind of shit, man.
Hockey's different, though.
It is, but
hockey players all look pretty similar.
Yeah, but none of them are like ripped.
But they're not fat, though.
I don't think. Phil Kessel, your guy.
Yeah, my guy.
Lumpy. The guy had 100 hits in his entire career.
Like Lumpy.
Callahan had 120 in one season for the Lightning, and Kessel had 111. He was like, remember when you interviewed his sister?
I did, and by accident, I said, "You can't be a fat NHL hockey player," and she laughed at me, and I couldn't, and I didn't know it was her brother. And somebody else would go, her brother's fat, right? And I go, he's not in the NHL. They're like, Phil Kessel. I go, that's her brother? I didn't put it together, so she laughed at me. Out of all the people, my brother's the only fat one.
She's great.
She was awesome.
She works in the NHL, in a high up position. She's one of the few women to be that high up. But I find it so funny where you get these sports radio hosts or sports podcast hosts, and they think they're tough talking shit about professional athletes.
Right.
Like, if that guy didn't exist, you wouldn't have a job. Don't forget that you're not the main character in this story. Like, people that talk about sports, like, when you denigrate the athletes, especially ones that are as high up as Patrick Mahomes that really don't deserve this type of ridicule. It's one thing if you don't play well. But when you're sitting there and you're making fun of something that really has nothing to do, it's not like he looks like he's not 300 pounds.
It's all personal, though.
It's 100%.
It's all personal.
But what does that say about this guy?
Well, first of all, I didn't like him before. But for my thing is, I try to never get personal. I'll just say, I just don't think he played well.
That's personal.
I just don't think that he has great instincts. That's not a personal thing. If you talk about he looks terrible or he's ugly or what, I mean, what am I, the president?
Sounds like Kermit.
The president. Your boy.
Ian. Ian.
He called me Dark Ian.
Let me tell you, Ian.
He's dark.
Wonderful job. The list just disappeared. It got up and vanished.
Big, beautiful
Epstein, it's gone. The big, beautiful list. You know what they call Patrick Mahomes' stomach? The big, beautiful belly.
Leave Patrick alone. He's eating. He'll be fine when the bullets start coming. He'll be fine.
Who would you rather have out there right now?
Patrick Mahomes.
Other than him, I mean, nobody.
Patrick Mahomes.
Nobody.
Okay.
I don't care what he looks like.
I'm not sure Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback to ever play.
Remember David Wells?
I do.
My man threw a perfect game.
All tore up, too.
All tore up, jacked up.
He don't look the part either.
But he threw a perfect game.
Yeah,
Unbelievable curveball. CeCe Sabathia played better when he was higher weight.
Better. It should tell you people, just be fat and enjoy yourself.
To be fat and enjoy yourself, yes. Lastly, the Home Run Derby is coming up next week. Junior Caminero is actually going to be in it for the Rays, which is pretty cool. The Rays will have 3 All-Stars, himself included, at 22 years old. It's hard to fathom. Is the Home Run Derby the best All-Star game competition in sports?
In sports?
Yes. Out of the 4 major sports. Because, I don't think we could put anything for football. For as great as football is, there's nothing that you can do and say, oh, the Pro Bowl flag football competition is great. It may be fun, but it's incomparable.
It's not going up against much.
I know, but I'm just saying, as far as... to me, it comes down to 2 things. It comes down to the slam dunk competition, and
which nobody talks about.
And
anymore.
it comes down to the Home Run Derby.
Nobody talks about that anymore. They really don't.
It's sad.
They really don't.
Isn't it sad though? Because it used to be a huge deal.
But But there's people in it that aren't even in the league. There's people in it that don't play. Like, nobody cares about that. Nobody. That's not making anybody money. Like, everybody's like, well, back in the day, it's not back in the day, okay? Because you know what you're not going to want your guy to do that makes $60 million? Go out there and jump for nothing. Seriously. It's just a different time. Well, back in the day, like Michael Jordan winning the slam dunk contest made him more money. It was part of his lore. You don't need that anymore. These kids are coming out of high school with lore, okay? So it's a different time these days. It's the same as, you know, these kids don't practice, and it's just a different time, man. And I was just talking to Tony the other day. I go, I don't know if I would be a different player if I made $25 million.
He said that, or you said that?
No, I did.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to be the same making $25 million as you do making $90,000, you're fooling yourself. I'm not going to be the same person.
Yeah, but how do you keep that chip on your shoulder? Like guys like Brady.
Well,
he talks about that and he uses that. And
I would say this about chip on your shoulder. Chip on your shoulder is something they just say to quarterbacks. Every football player has a chip on their shoulder. If you don't have a chip on your shoulder, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah,
but to me, it's not
that's
about,
regardless if you get paid, where you get paid.
Well, if you're a real dog, it shouldn't matter what you get. If you're a real dog, I can't say everybody's a real dog, but I'm just telling you, I believe when you're a real dog, I was out there barking a little bit, but if I made $25 million, would my mentality be the same? I don't know. Like, maybe you don't play on that half foot if you make $25 million. You know what I mean? Because I was always reaching for something else. That's why when you take away somebody's drive, it's different, man. They got to be moving towards, and don't make shit comfortable. That's why you got to keep people fighting. I was always fighting for something, and somebody gave me something. Like, some of these kids, first rounders, just Keith McCants got a $3 million signing bonus and never played one time, and that was a long time ago. And at that time was more money you know what to do with. I don't know if I think it took his fight away.
Really?
But I don't know if he was a fighter to begin with. That's the problem.
But that's the thing. Is like certain guy, it could take away the drive from a guy that already has it.
Lawrence Taylor, would it matter how much he makes?
No, but
that's what I'm saying. That some people are built different, but
because the crack rock's still the same price, Joe Rogan. Still the same thing.
He just upgraded his stuff.
I'm upset that we don't have another athlete like that.
Like Lawrence Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's one of one.
You can't do that anymore.
You can't.
No way. We can't do it. No way.
No.
Not in 2025.
So the opposite of that.
You can't do Michael Jordan in 2025.
No
way.
No chance.
Way.
What part?
And which party? What?
The gambling part, the punching the team in the face part?
What? The womanizing part?
Yeah.
I knew 3 girls in Indiana who were like, my girlfriend is being put up by Michael Jordan. That's 3 that I knew. He was putting girls up everywhere in the country, bro.
So let's go the other way, because Tim Tebow just had his first kid today.
Congratulations, Timmy.
I thought he was still a virgin. I could argue, and we just talked about some of the guys that are quite the opposite of this. When you think of squeaky clean athletes,
yes,
Tim Tebow's definitely at the top of that list. Who else is on that list when you think squeaky clean athlete? I think Derek Jeter no, probably because of the women.
Nah.
How about check this guy, Doug Flutie.
I'm okay with that one. But I guarantee if you dig deep, I bet Doug Flutie drinks a lot.
I'm talking about surface.
Yeah.
It's the same reason with Tebow.
I'll give you one. It's not as big of a name, though, but I know he was squeaky clean. Ty Detmer was pretty squeaky clean.
Ty Detmer? Okay.
He was Mormon, and he was pretty squeaky clean.
And Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is definitely... He doesn't even curse. He's like, dadgummit.
He's pretty squeaky clean. Brad Johnson.
Yeah.
Brad Johnson.
That's a good one.
Brad Johnson.
That's a good one.
Brad Johnson's pretty... His parents were sweet. They used to call into the show. Nice people. Brad Johnson, salt of the earth cat. I don't know him that well. Salt of the earth cat.
Derek Brooks?
I knew him for too long.
Okay. Fair enough. But you understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
Clean athletes.
I got one for you. Can't believe you didn't say it.
Who?
Leroy Selman.
Ah,
please.
Yes.
Like, it would be his trophy. It would be the Leroy Selman trophy of squeaky clean.
Reggie White?
Yeah.
Minister?
Reggie White, with Reggie White too, yeah. But he was really mean, though.
But he mean, though. So I don't know if he would get it, though.
Yes,
Was Leroy mean?
On the field, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Anthony
it's
Munoz,
tough for a defensive player.
I said to Anthony Munoz one time,
Ali Marpet. Dude.
Yeah.
He's a ukulele playing guy.
Offensive linemen are hard. It's hard.
So is defensive players.
Yeah.
He's trying to rip somebody's head off.
I asked Anthony Munoz one time, who's the baddest son bitch you ever played against? He looks at me and goes, Leroy Selman. And I go, He goes,
Don't just say that. That's what you're saying.
because he went against Lawrence Taylor. He went against and he said Leroy Selman.
I got one. How about Eli Manning?
Yeah.
There's just nothing to be like, well, he did this.
Yeah.
Like Peyton had the thing in college. Eli was just like,
yeah, Peyton wasn't squeaky. And I know Peyton drinks for real,
yeah,
for real.
Eli's just kind of.
I bet he drinks for real.
AI made me do it, and if you guys want to contribute, type in on the chat there. Squeaky clean athletes. AI made me do it. Says Mark Royals. Is he on there?
I knew him for too long. Well, I knew Mark at the Cove back in the day. So we
Tony Mayberry's not on there.
No, no. They're squeaky compared to me, and I'm not even that dirty. But compared to me, they're squeaky. They stayed out of more trouble than I did.
I'm trying to think of like fan favorite guys that, like a Kevin Kiermaier. I don't know if he's squeaky clean. No. I bet he was banging girls since he was 8. I would too.
I
saw Kiermaier at an event one time. He was hammered.
Was
man.
he?
Hammered.
Yeah, he's not squeaky.
And he wasn't like being like rude or just.
But
he was just
hammered,
feeling it, dude. I was like, God bless you, bro.
It happens though.
Sitting down. Squeaky clean athletes. Where's Ponzo at? Ponzo would definitely know.
Oh, Ponzo would have a whole.
Pons, if you're listening out there, come on in here. Give us a squeaky clean athlete. This is not hockey guys. Hockey's probably like. Oh, here's one. Valtteri Filppula.
Oh, I don't know that.
The Finn. The Finnish guy. You saw him at the Slayer concert.
At Slayer, you're talking about being.
Probably not. Then he's off the list.
Probably not so much. No.
Anton Strawman, squeaky clean. You know what? Anton Strawman really. So Anton was always a guy that he always, even when he was 25, looked like he was 45. He was balding at 21, I think it was. One time we were at Amalie Arena, and there's 4 little kids running around. Just close your eyes and think about 4 little kids running around and going crazy between the ages of 3 and 7. And they're yelling at the top of their lungs. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I turn to my left, and there's Anton Strawman with that look on his face that my dad had on his face when we didn't listen growing up. And I said, in that single solitary moment, I don't give a shit how many million you have. That shit still happens.
Oh, 100%.
Right? When you just look around and you go, how did I get into this situation right now?
Well, I was born with a face. I got it from my dad.
Yeah?
I could shut down a room. I could shut down a room of other people's kids with a look, 100%. Yeah. I got it from my dad, I'm telling you. I got a very serious face when I'll lock it in and I see everybody. I can shut up with grown-ups too.
Really?
Yeah, when I get serious, yeah. If I get, you haven't seen me serious that many times. Not serious when I'm upset. You don't really see me. I bet you've never even seen me upset. Not for real. I don't get upset that much.
Me neither.
Tony has. Tony's seen me upset.
I think you've seen me upset one time. Do you know when it was? You know exactly. It's happened one time. And it was on air too. It was after we were on air. It was in the studio. Do you remember what it was?
I don't.
What time was I really upset? I was pissed.
At me?
No, I never got mad at you. I don't think I've ever.
At Ron?
No, we were hosting.
Oh, we were hosting.
Yes.
I could picture it now, kind of. I don't remember.
All right, so I'm going to tell the story. So we came up with this. So Ian wanted to come up with this segment for the show, and it was called Mr. Know-It-All, right? So the premise was really good. Now you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it was a great idea. We got the imaging up, and Ponzo was a part of it, and it was really great. But it turned into we didn't really formulate what the premise was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because if it was like current events or trivia questions, it would have been good. But what it turned into me memorizing something from like certain teams, and it just that's
a lot of work for nothing.
But that's not knowledge.
No,
it's not knowledge. All you're doing is memorizing. Correct. So Ian's like, "Who's the 4th leading scorer on the 1976 Lakers?" Like, I don't know. What the fuck kind of question is that? It wasn't
quite that deep.
And I set it up. I'm the one that set it up, this whole premise. So, and at that time, I'm going through our breakup, and I'm fucking heated. Because we did an entire segment. We didn't go 12 minutes. We went like 8 minutes, and I got none right. None. And then Ian's just like, all right, we're going to go to break. I was like, Ian, we are not doing that ever again. He's like, okay, we don't have to do that anymore. And I was pissed.
Yeah, you were.
And I
you were-
wasn't even mad at Ian or Tom.
Nah.
I was mad at the situation.
Yeah.
I was mad at everything that was going on. And and the thing is, I didn't even care that I got him wrong.
I think you were mad at yourself.
I was, because it was
For
a
putting
terrible,
yourself
like,
in that
yes,
situation.
that's why. I
You're
wasn't
like,
mad
why
that
would
I got
I
him
do
wrong.
that?
Like, that wasn't what we were trying to do. If it would have been, hey, current event topics, questions, like all-time trivia questions, and I didn't get them right, fine. But it turned into me stressing the fuck out before the show, taking Wikipedia pages of 1989 Edmonton Oilers and going like, well, Messier had this many.
And halfway through, dog, you had enough.
Yeah, I was like,
You were like,
yeah, I was like, I don't fucking know, dude. Because in the beginning when we did just normal questions, it was good.
Now
And
I
then,
remember your face, and it was a face I'd never seen
and
before, dog.
since then,
And I was like, dude, okay, we won't do it again.
and I was just like, felt like such a dick too. I was like, nah, I'm a dick to these guys. It's not even their fault. So my squeaky clean ass did not make it through
You
that
were
deep.
not on the squeaky-clean list anyways.
I
You were
wasn't.
never on the list.
I was never on the list.
Never on the list.
Never on those. Anybody at who have we worked with? Who is the squeakiest clean person that we ever worked with at WDE?
Justin Pulaski.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie. I mean, I don't want to. I don't even know. I don't even.
Jokes.
You do got jokes. All right, for real though.
Oh, that's easy for me. There's two. Very, very
Safe man?
squeaky. Huh?
Safe man? No.
Chris Mathis. What?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you another one. I would let him
Running
be in
late?
my house. You know, I would trust him. Derek Sharp is a pretty trustworthy guy. He's a pretty trustworthy guy.
He is. I'm just kidding.
He's
I love
pretty
Derek.
trustworthy,
Derek's my
you know
guy.
what I mean?
Derek's. As far as people that have influenced my career here, few people have a higher percentage in that than Derek Sharp, because I learned from him so much. And as much as I was having this conversation the other day with somebody. I think the Ron and Ian show was the most popular about 4 or 5 years before I got to DAE. I think the Ron and Ian show was best when I was the producer.
I would agree with you.
Because I feel like that show was the same thing about talking about lifestyle men, you know, stuff like that. Plus there was a direction, because
There was structure.
Well, there was structure, because remember when I tried to bring, because Derek didn't do that. And I'm not bad-mouthing him, but you remember we had a conversation with Ron. Ron's been doing he's been doing radio for so long. Such an incredible job. But he was so worried about not having the ability to just kind of, because Ron just would ping things out there.
That's his
and that was his thing. And you did a good job of being able to kind of like either steer the topic back in or be able to meet him where he was at. So he was very apprehensive of doing this. And I said, hey, this is what we needed a basis. And then we can kind of, you know, go from there and be able to branch off to other things. And to his credit, a guy that was in the business for as long as he did, the trust that he had in me to be able to do that, he really embraced it over time. And then the show just, I mean, we did like Sports Smackdown was a really, really good show. And you know what's funny is that when we first did Sports Smackdown, that may have been one of the maddest you've been that I've seen you. Because Ron was paying attention to sports, and you were, because you, and I don't want to speak out of turn, when you're not hosting sports radio, your vision of sports is different. You're not trying to you don't watch every game. You kind of go about your life. When you were hosting on DAE, you were focused a little bit more on trying to make sure you watch some Rays games or watch Lightning games, right? That's true?
No, 100%.
Yeah. So I remember that first time we played it, and you were like, and he won pretty handily, and you were just like, oh, fuck, I really have to like pay attention to my shit. Because then after that, it was fantastic. It really was good, but it was good because Ron, very rare in life do you see your friends or your colleagues like they raise their level, right? And to be able to see not only Ron raise his level, but then you raise your level, like the show just automatically gets better that way because you're putting more effort into it, you're preparing for it more, and I think it's enjoyable. And then you have the birthday challenge, which is always an incredible program, an incredible segment to the show. We used to do it twice a week.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy, man.
I remember some people wanted us to remove it, and then we looked at the ratings, and it went straight sky high with the birthday challenge. And listen, when I came back the second time for the Ron and Ian, and you were a producer, I knew we were good as people. friend-wise, but like if I had a business, I would hire you because of the way I've never seen anybody not put Ron in his place, but just the way you dealt with him, like nobody. I've been there for 15 years, and nobody did it like this. I'm telling you, when you were like, Ron, just let me do this. I'm telling you, try this, and then we fit. And it's one of those things. Let me show you, okay?
Yeah.
And it made the show better. It made it better that we were there earlier and talking about it and going over the stuff. We were just like, walking there, boom, boom, and then 1 minute before we just start winging it.
Yeah, because your first show, you didn't even talk to him before.
Not
the show,
at all.
right?
Not at all. Like literally, it was like I'm like, hey, Ron, I'm like, hey, Ian. Welcome to the Ron and Ian show. We didn't talk about what we were talking about. Nothing.
But that's kind of how iHeart was, because even when you and I were hosting, like it was just like, all right, well, where are we gonna sit?
But that's
How's
not
the show gonna go?
I am though, because
and you know I'm not like that either. But that when the structure is put into, you don't realize when you're not in a management position, like certain things that need to be covered. Like when you're a talent, you're a talent. When you're management, you're management. Like there's certain things that management need to. And I see this on the baseball side, being a baseball coach. Today, I'm putting kids out there like, you're not a second baseman, but if this guy gets hurt and this guy's pitching, you don't do that as much for a talent. You're a management position. You have to be able to do stuff like that. So it's different. But the fact that the show got so much better, I think it's credit to everybody, right? It's a credit to everybody because Ron and I hosted together, right? And that was the big adjustment, was that you were coming back and I was going to get quote unquote demoted, but I didn't look at it like that because I always looked at it as, if I'm going to produce any show, this is the show I wanted to produce. Plus, I was promoted to assistant program director. My voice was being heard a lot more inside the building when it came to, structure of the show. I mean, structure of the station as a whole, which I really enjoyed. And then I could work with Pat and Aaron and things like that. And I always enjoyed that. But the ability to be able to come back and to see how it evolved, because I watched some of the old videos that we have, like it was good shit, man. And I don't know if down the stretch, like the upper management really knew what we had going there.
No, they couldn't have, because even when I came back the second time, I realized how little they paid attention, because they were like, well, Ian, we get all of our talent has to have a podcast. And I go, okay. And they're like, well, do you have a podcast? I said, yeah. They're like, well, T-Craz gets 400 people a week. I go, I get 30,000. They're like, what? I go, yeah, I've been doing a podcast for 8 years. Really? Oh, and you have to do social media now. I go, okay. And they go, well,
you were doing that anyway.
I go, I was doing a Ron and Ian page before I got fired last time.
Right.
You were. So it was like, they didn't know what the hell was going on, man. Like the Ron and Ian logo, all that kind of, I created all that.
Right.
The theme, the songs at the beginning, I created all that. Like Ron was a radio guy, and I was the creative part of it. You know, so, it worked. It really did. It really
and
did.
it's interesting too, and I really wish that, the Ron and Ian show held such a regard in WDAE's history. I just wish it would be celebrated more, especially because you're on the station now. Every Thursday at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock with the guys.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock with the guys. And I just, it sucks. Like we all went out on good terms, right? Nobody was like, and we don't
Twice.
Yeah. We're good out on good terms, but still, you're like, you go back, I go back on the station, with Ronnie and T-Craz and, talking hockey and stuff like that. So there's no, I was over there yesterday in the building. You'll be over there tomorrow. So I don't know. I think we wait too long in life to be able to give people their flowers. And I just I don't want to get to a point where we get so far down the road that we're like all apart and it's just like, oh yeah, remember how great Ron and Ian was? Like when I watch these videos on my laptop, I'm like, we had a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. And people, and like, forget it. You want to call it tooting your horn or whatever. The ability to be able to do a sports show during the pandemic is crazy.
Yeah.
And the ability that we had as a group, and not just our show, but the entire station, like we won Station of the Year at iHeart. Nobody else. We did. And there was nothing to talk about other than what we came up with. It was, whether it was like greatest teams of all time or Mount Rushmore discussions or, on this day in sports history. Remember we did on this day in sports history every single day.
Yep.
And then also when we started our local lookout segment and every single day at like 5-4. Now, mind you, we were on 3 to 7 during the pandemic every day.
Every day.
Not 3 to 6. 3 to 7 every single day. And you know what we never did? And listen, I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but this happens in radio. we very rarely recorded an interview early on in the show and played it back later on.
That's true.
We did it a
That's true.
handful of
That is
times.
true. That's
I know
true.
Tom does it a lot in the afternoon
Yeah.
now. And listen, he's by himself, so I think that's a completely
No
different
doubt.
dynamic.
No doubt.
Completely, right? It's completely different when you're by yourself. And the same thing with the big dog, right? That's why it's really apples and oranges compared to like what we were doing, because it was a 3-man team pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were on it every single day at 5, we were coming up with original content for 4 straight hours. And at 5:45 every single day, we opened up the phone lines during the pandemic, and we ended up having hundreds, not exaggerating, hundreds of local businesses calling up and saying, we're open for this, and we're open for that, and we're open for this. I remember a lady calling one time saying, the only reason why we're still open right now is because of Ron and Ian. Please thank them. I can't believe that. Like, think about some of the, I don't know if it was Flourish or one of our other like
Flourish, yeah.
like one of our other peoples
Yep.
that were like, they stayed in business because
Yeah.
we told people they were open.
Well, sometimes you just think you're entertaining, but then
It was more than that,
Well, every
right?
once in a while, I'll have somebody approach me. Like, once again, even when I'm playing football, you just think you're out there entertaining, you know? But sometimes people will approach you with stories. You're like, maybe it was a little bit more. Had somebody go, I was going through cancer, and I was in the hospital, and you and Ron or you and Jay got me through it. And I'm like, whoa, like that's deep. You know what I mean? So it's good to know that you're touching lives, and we have the ability to help our community. This is my community, dude. Like, I'm from Montreal, but I'm from Tampa, bro.
Yeah, we choose to
I'm
be
from
here.
Tampa. Yeah,
You
I'm
think
not
about
going
it, right?
nowhere. I'm not going nowhere.
2 guys from not here.
Not here.
We made it here, though.
Yeah,
like,
man.
we made it here. This is our home. And
We win.
we have the ability to, even people, when they come to me now and they're like, are you Jay Recher? Like, it happened to me at the Valspar. Some guy approached, like, walking down the hill, real aggressive. And my first instinct is, this guy going to punch me in the face? And my mom and dad were with me. And he goes, hey, man, miss you on the station. Bad mistake. I really loved your stuff. And he walked away. And my mom and dad was like, that was pretty cool.
That's beautiful.
Like,
yeah.
you don't know, man. You don't. And the people come up to you and they're like, hey, are you Jay Recher? And and to me, I didn't play in the NFL, so I just look at it as like, I was on WDAE. I cover the Lightning. It's extremely humbling. It really is. But it just also shows you the power of sports talk radio. Just talk radio in general. You and I have talked about this for a long time. Of like, everybody knows my grandma.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
everybody knows my dad's an Islander fan. Everybody knew, like, when you owned the sandwich shop, right? Everybody knew these little things. Everybody knew about Ron and his friends, and
Yep.
like, that's what talk radio can
The
give
highs
you.
and lows.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's
Highs and
very
lows.
transparent to the entire thing. When, Steph and I lost our little Julius, and I was on, and Zach wasn't there that day. I was on air by myself for 30 minutes, and nothing with sports, and everybody on the text line, everybody that called in was like super nice, not one bad comment. But it's the beauty of it. And as much as we love doing the podcast, and as much as I love doing my podcast live every day, there's nothing like sports talk radio. And that's why I think you and I also get, like with this dipshit for Kansas City, like, we get, you know what I mean? Because we realize how powerful that platform can be. And if you sit on there and you're talking shit about a professional athlete, you wouldn't have a job if guys like that didn't exist. So I think that's why we take, umbrage, or we really take it to heart when things like this happen.
Well, I've said before, talk radio, people get to know people in talk radio more than any other occupation in the world. There's no way. And talk radio, you know where they live, what they eat, what their mother's name is, what their dog's name is. Like seriously, you know everything about what they drive, where they hang out. You know everything about them. Gail Guayardo, I watch them forever. Gail Sirens, Charlie Belcher, I know them personally. I don't know anything about them. They probably know everything about me. They know my children's
It's
name.
a one-sided
No,
relationship.
they know where my children went to
you're
school.
right.
They know where I'm coaching. They know everything about me. So if you want, the word out there, talk radio is the way to go. I did sports radio, now I'm doing the bow, now I'm doing both. So, it's a weird thing because when people approach you like they know you, and I said to people, they do. Because I know people in my life that have been around me that don't know nearly as much as that person who listens every single day. They know more about me than the other people. I swear to God.
No, you're right.
So that's a tough situation. And it's funny with me playing football when I was walking around, I didn't get the accolades I get now. Maybe it's the years, but like when I get, hey, I hear, hey, that's Ian Beckles, a Tampa legend. They didn't say Tampa football legend or radio legend. They said Tampa legend.
Right.
And at first I was like, you kind of stole those words around. Then I was like, that's their words. Let them throw it around.
Yeah.
If I use the word legend, I mean it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you hear something like that, you should embrace it. And to be recognized, I love to be around young cats like yourself, Aaron Jacobson. When you're around them and you see people getting you recognized, I think that's beautiful. You guys deserve it, man. You deserve it.
I think that's a good way to end the show right there, man.
Perfect.
On a positive, on a high note.
Yeah,
4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard here at the Dignitary Cafe. Come check us out. Get you some kava. Get you some kratom.
Yeah.
Come play some pool. 420 friendly here. A lot of great vibes here. A lot of great vibes here. Ian_Beckles on Instagram. At Recher for me. Ian, we're off the next 2 weeks. Again, going on vacation. I keep saying vacation. I'm not going on vacation.
You going to the Hamptons?
Going to the Hamptons. Carbon Vitale just went to the Hamptons, our friend from Fox Sports.
Yeah, he did.
And I was like, yeah, that's great. It's a wild thing. A little bougie. A little too bougie for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Alabama for baseball. And then, of course, New York to visit the family, and then North Carolina as well. So Ian will not be on with us or on with me on Monday, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks. So I think the 27th or the 28th is when my podcast will be back, and then we'll be back at it July 30th, and NFL training camp will be back underway, man.
Hopefully Tristan Wirfs' knee feels better.
Yeah, you got that right. Ian Beckles, I'm Jay Recher. We'll see you next time. The Beckles and Recher podcast. Peace out. Deuces. Pound it. Joe Rogan.